Welcome to the April 7th Jail Zones and Perhaps Cells production user call. We have Anthony, Jan, Antonig, Michael J, Daniel B, and myself, Michael, so far. And I have invited Matthias to join us and talk about NetBSD Cells. I've put some information summarizing that in the document. You are welcome to check that out. I believe thanks to Ramadan's post today, post-Easter, he had a neat article here on simply sharing mechanisms, because this comes up a lot with jails and VMs. And I like the fact that he did this chart. It may not be perfect, but it gets people thinking, and I love frameworks like that. So basically disk versus iSCSI versus NFS. It might need to be, say, or get complemented with a BSD-oriented one that discusses, say, the buffer cache, etc. Jan, I'm sure you have some opinions, but let's maybe save that for ZFS or something. So, Michael, you have produced daemon lists that came across various feeds this last week or two, and I invite you to introduce yourself and tell us about it.
Hey, everybody. My name is Michael Johnson. I've been a long-time FreeBSD user, and I was a committer in the early 2000s and stopped around 2010. And I've always used FreeBSD since I think 3.2 or something. And I slowly, between 2010 and about a year ago, I slowly was migrating towards Linux, and I didn't like that. I've always had a special place in my heart for FreeBSD, and now that Doug's work on OCI jail is starting to become more stable, I was like, hey, I want to get off of Linux and move back to FreeBSD. So I kind of started this project as for personal reasons. So I started. I grew some Python scripts organically to migrate some of the stuff over to FreeBSD using OCI jail, and then it just kind of spun off from there. So Daemonless is a small little organization that hosts I don't know 50 or so OCI images for FreeBSD, and they all run S6, and the reason they run S6 is to allow the user to change UID, PID, and it gives us some various other bits, like proper signal handling. Just makes using the container much easier, and managing the CI much easier than not using S6. And essentially, that's basically the only base package we install, and then everything else is either coming from an upstream binary, we're compiling it, or coming from package imports. And if you're familiar with OCI images or Docker, you're probably familiar with the term tag. So like typically when you download a Docker, that you might download like a latest image or a version. We have three main tags. We have a latest tag, which is a binary from upstream if they offer it. So an example of that would be like Radar offers it, and Traffic offers FreeBSD binaries. Basically anything in Go offers a FreeBSD binary, but our team offers FreeBSD binaries as well. And we do compile some things like image. We are compiling, but we also offer a PKG tag and a PKG latest tag. The PKG tag is basically the quarterly rolling packages, and then the PKG latest is if you change Etsy PKG whatever FreeBSD.conf to latest, that's the packages you would get. And from there, you may show off the images, or what do you think, Michael?
Oh, well, if you've been following the calls, the notion of an app store has been quite interesting for some time, because it's never been quite pulled off. And we've discussed, should that be, say, meta packages and current packages, or roll it your own, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure Jan will have S6RC and questions about that. But let's dive briefly into, yeah, your repo. And I think I actually have this image fleet tab open, which was a pleasant surprise insofar as you've got some familiar faces there.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Go ahead
some
and say,
stuff, a lot of stuff is in ports, um, and everything operates very similar to if you've ever used Docker, it would operate and feel very similar to Docker, and it's set up
okay.
so if you have a Linux Docker, you could migrate if you wanted to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I say that with an asterisk because some things, some databases are compiled with a different locale, like on Linux, and so you'd have to dump the database to actually move over. But things like Radar, Sonar, basically the whole R suite, and a lot of other stuff, you can migrate just straight to FreeBSD.
And do you hit system dependency issues?
No, so not with the software we're using right now.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure there's something that somebody might want in the future that might have system D, but nothing in here needs system D.
Got it. Um,
The some of the more interesting bits are probably image, because I if you look online, um, IMMICH.
okay. IMM.
Yeah.
Image. Yes, tell us
Image
more.
is an entire stack. So image is basically a Google Photos clone that you can run in your home lab,
Okay.
and it has everything. The stack is massive. It's 1,400 packages
Whew.
across the stack. So it would be um I can't imagine it being a port, just because how complicated it is, and the amount of setup it would take, to be even a meta port, like the system administration you would have to have. Um, so
Interesting.
that's kind of the I don't know, flagship uh, container right now is image.
Interesting. So you feel you've got the kind of balance of all these tools to get that right or
Yeah.
better, given that, yeah,
So
out of the
if you
box.
look at here's kind of the high level stack.
Sure.
So basically, you have image server that connects to image ML. So I want to add an asterisk to image ML. So on FreeBSD, because it's a machine learning model, and what this machine learning model does is it finds faces in the photos, and like faces across your photos, and it works really really well. It
Cool.
works
Okay.
better with a video card. So if you're uploading 20,000 photos, you might want to run it on the image ML on Linux today, unfortunately. But like if you're uploading hundreds of photos, it works very very well. And you need Postgres, and apparently I have an error 404
No
that I need
worries.
to fix.
No worries. I'm just trying to copy the text
um,
here. Image. Image.
and then it needs Postgres and then Redis for cache. So you can point the image ML stack to a Linux container. So and then run image on FreeBSD. Uh, but you can just run it on FreeBSD. It's not quite as fast. It works very very well though.
Fascinating. And it's a whole new territory that I know well from the good old, oh, FreeNAS, TrueNAS days, but that gap has never quite been filled. So having the
Oh,
plumbing to do it is very different from having an ecosystem. And so other thoughts on the application stack, other discoveries, highlights, surprises like you're hinting at here?
um, so there's two methods to install today. So if you want to install an image, or if you want to install one of our containers, you can use either Podman, which is the work Doug is done, or Jesus wrote AppGel, and AppGel supports OCI images. And right now, Daemonless.io if you click on any of the images, there's an example for both AppJail and Podman.
So that would be from this page.
No, click on anything.
Back to
Doesn't
image
matter what.
for kicks. Yeah.
So image is a little different. So
Okay.
so because it's a stack, but it does have the example. If you scroll down,
Well, how about I go brutal and go with like Nextcloud, given that that's a hot
sure.
topic this week.
Okay. Why is Nextcloud a hot topic?
So there were, more accurately, OnlyOffice and Strange Licensing and Collabora and this sort of teams being thrown off from LibreOffice and Collabora and you name it. So Nextcloud is
Ah.
typically the popular front end to that, and we can talk about that particular stack in the future. But if we were to jump down here, we see port registry daemon source website version tags latest. Okay.
These are the tags I was talking about.
Deployment. Here we go. Is this
Yeah. So there's Podman Compose, and
okay?
that's your traditional Podman Compose. AppJail Director. So AppJail is I don't know if you haven't heard of it. It's kind of like IOCage or EasyJail. It's one of those jail tools. It supports OCI images. This would be a config you would use in AppJail. And one thing that you can do on our page that you can't do on a lot of other OCI images is you can kind of edit in place and then download it. So if you click on the PUID equals 1000,
Oh,
it'll let you edit it.
interesting. And then copy from here.
And it's persistent across images, right? So if you say like
Okay.
999, it's going to say, or 101, it will be persistent across the next image.
Oh,
And then if you
fascinating.
scroll down,
Yeah.
there's a little download button at the below this. So here, because AppJail requires 3 different files, it wants like an AppJail file, it wants an env file, and like a make jail file. We have a little client side download, and here's where you can also control the various aspects of the container.
Oh, such as the port that came up just
Yeah.
yesterday with Silva. And I don't think the port message gives that network port. Fascinating. Fascinating.
So I do want to jump back
Yeah,
to
please.
something you said earlier. You're talking about an app store. So that's kind of the long-term goal is to have something maybe in Silva. If I can convince the developer that like we have like a one-click kind of install. And where we would need to build a standard, right? So the community could have their own images and whatnot.
Indeed, indeed.
Can I cut in on
Please.
that? So I have talked to Isam about ideas here, and one of the limitations is right now the network integration. Because for FreeBSD Podman, you're basically given 2 options: no network virtualization or VNet with a bridge and an ePIL,
Yeah.
or ignoring all abstractions and writing your own custom hooks if you count that as a third option.
I would add in DNS is a challenge sometimes as well. But yeah, I totally agree that
So
we need like NetAdvark and
yep,
more.
we need custom or just custom CNI providers. I don't
Yeah.
think Podman will remove them anytime soon.
Yeah.
And the performance problems with CNI providers are mostly bad CNI providers. You don't have to write a 20 megabyte Python script, which does 1,000 HTTP requests.
Yeah, on my personal like test box, I have a little script that makes ePair virtual networks, and from a user standpoint, it's not great, right? Like it would not be great to say, hey, user, you need to run this script to create like a little Podman network. It needs to happen automatically.
Yeah, the problem right now is most people start out like they have forever on Unix by just putting IP addresses by whatever means on physical interfaces. That's
Right.
how you install a FreeBSD system. The installer asks you, do you want DHCP? You say yes. Do you want IPv6 Slack? Yes. Okay, then you have it on your physical interface. And of course, if you then want to make it into a Hotman or whatever, container host or a virtual machine host, you need some kind of software bridge, because the canonical way to do that is to have the software bridge and put some kind of pseudo interface on that. Welcome, Haizam.
Welcome, Hazem. Yes,
And
we're
the downside is that there is no safe way to convert an existing configuration to one which uses a bridge.
Yeah.
And if you have an actual production deployment, you probably have a network card which supports single root I/O virtualization. So in that case, you probably want to use virtual functions where possible and only use the physical function for the fallback bridge if you have more containers than virtual devices.
Right.
Uh, yeah, we don't have a crossbar like management interface where you always have the management abstraction but only pay the overhead as you exceed hardware capabilities.
I agree.
so yeah, we have several years worth of this discussion, and the question of network dependency
And
resolution, and that build up and tear down, and what's that look like, and what's it look like if something failed halfway between setting up? How does it unwind itself and then restart? So it's a challenge.
and I've been meaning to write a pair driver as a simplified alternative to the e-pair driver, so that you don't need a bridge but run the host as a router. Because believe it or not, FreeBSD is a faster router than a bridge. And the whole bridging game at least got stainer in FreeBSD 15, that now you cannot accidentally leave IP addresses configured on the member interfaces of the bridge, because the kernel will refuse to set up that configuration unless you enable a I want back compatibility sysctl to re-enable the flawed previous capability. And now we also have VLAN filtering in the bridge driver. So now you can actually make FreeBSD behave kind of like you expect a software bridge to be managed, not this insanity of multiple bridges per VLAN. And don't you dare turn on spanning tree on the tagged bridges, because hardware switches will explode in your face if they see tagged spanning tree frames.
So yeah, it's a long-term challenge. Let's frame it as such, and keep experimenting to find what's the shortest path to something that makes the most people happy the most. So that said, welcome, Hazem. Sounds like you two have been talking about, perhaps I'm going to make a wild guess here, to use Michael's tool as the jail aspect of Silva, perhaps, or you tell me.
I would put an asterisk on that.
No, we get.
I proposed like having his tool like be able to install stuff from the community, not just my like I wouldn't want to box this into just
Sure.
Damon's,
Okay.
right? Like some standard, like maybe if you think about like how TrueNAS works or worked with that kind of one-click Docker install,
Hmm.
something kind of like that. But to be determined. It's very very early, and we've only briefly discussed it. But I'll let you chime in if you want.
Yeah. So, Hazen, if you have a view on that, what do you picture? What's missing in just quick and dirty access to a rich app store?
Okay, so I think Michael here is on the right track. So and I really dislike rebuilding or reinventing the wheel, so to speak. So he has a lot of patches that once they make it in tree, they'll be useful to him, and consequently will be very useful to us as well. So and he's right. So imagine like the Docker IO thing where people can pull in whatever image they want And since Michael has already worked on a couple of really nice things that people can already just, start using immediately. So we'll be kind of, favoring that obviously. And then we can build on top of that, or we can add in more, community-based stuff. So it's a lot of fun stuff. And another thing is, I integrated package base this weekend, and so there'll be like three different ways of deploying a jail now, which is kind of confusing for the user, but at the same time, most people won't know about all three of them. So right now, I think people will pretty much migrate to using package base by default because it is the easiest. And when we have the Podman integration kick in, that would become the easiest. But all these three are like backward compatible with each other. So, or I hope the third one would be as well. I didn't get to the dev part of it, but at least the base and package based stuff is pretty much the same as far as users are concerned. It's just package base thing is significantly smaller. Like the minimal base set is like what 80 megabytes or something like that, compared to the regular base where it's like 2 gigs extracted. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
been
pretty
my
much it on my end.
motivation since 2003. It's a smaller jail, but that's neither here nor there. To watch the talks and all the efforts of mine for all these decades. Anyway, so yes, Michael, do watch the chat. Jan has some pointed questions, but I guess you are all on fantastic track, and I'm sure Antonig has some thoughts about Jailer, and Anthony has some questions, and Daniel probably has some insights, but think about how uh, we can all help insofar as this effort of the calls has, say, dusted off GSOC projects and integrated them simply because it was documentation that was a problem, not the code, or identifying issues and, providing bug reports. Hazem, I hope you found this useful over the last few months, where from packaging to questions on how things work, we're here to help. So I guess Michael and Hazem, just think about what will always unblock you from what you're pursuing and what you envision.
Yeah. What blocks us? I think I'm trying to read some of the questions here, and I apologize. I've only used Zoom a handful of times, so I
No
this is the
worries.
first time I didn't even open the chat. So a couple things that block us are DNS is a small blocker. So right now, depending on I can't remember the specific network you use in Podman, but there is one you can use where, unless you have DNS name installed, which is not in ports, unfortunately, you can't. You have to use an IP address. So we have ported it, but we haven't put it in ports. So the long term solution is not DNS name. It is actually netadvar. That's the long term replacement. And if you look on GitHub, DNS name is actually archived. It compiles cleanly, works perfectly, and FreeBSD. If you compile it, install it, Podman automatically picks it up, and it just works because Podman's looking for that specific plugin. It's hard coded into Podman, so it does work. But netadvar is the long term solution. Secondly, right now it's not a great user experience. Like if you're running mlock, and mlock is the whole R suite. If you're running Postgres, you have to patch OCI jail today. So I submitted a patch to Doug. Doug is merged it. We're just waiting on Doug to produce a new version. But today, yeah, the user experience is, hey, you will have to patch OCI jail, or your alternative, you don't have to patch app-jail. So if you are using app-jail, you wouldn't have to patch it. And to answer some questions here, do you have a different quality tiers for applications? What does that mean? Like,
I
do
mean,
I,
something like oh yeah, this is an experiment, but nobody will maintain it, or hey,
Oh, I
this is
see. I see.
our demo case for how to set up a
Yeah.
complicated application stack like Nextcloud or Image.
Yeah. So I do have so in the daemonless dbuild spec, there is something called work in progress WIP. It's basically a tag within Podman, and nothing is tagged with that now. When I initially started, lots of things were tagged with that, but now I just wait until it's done before I commit anything. So with that said, maybe in the future, if something's partially working, we'll have that work in progress tag. Arguably, code server, the VS code server, probably needs that tag. It does work. It works well, but there's a couple weird nuances that happen because it runs in a container. So we I don't know like what environment you want on your system. Do you need GCC? Do you need Python? Do you need Python 12? What do you need, right? So in VS Code, there's a terminal at the bottom, and you can't SU to install the stuff, and that's not a great user experience. So, and the reason you can't SU or sudo is Podman strips the set ID bit out of it. So trying to come up with with a way to make like VS Code more usable is interesting. But other than that, I think everything is on par or equal to the Linux equivalent or what a user would expect today. But with that said, if assuming that we grow, I assume we'll have to add something more than just a WIP tag.
Oh, I see this. Maybe that's an answer to the DNS thing. Do you see the question on using DNS mask, which I believe Hazen was using?
I don't. Can you read it?
It's on there. DNS mask in a jail with IPv4
Oh.
inherit and IPv6 inherit on the host.
So that to me looks like app jail, but I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not an expert with Podman network. So
one of the ways you can already use Podman is to just not have it virtualize the network for when it has to
you're talking
play
about like
nice with the host.
using on host. Yeah.
So that then you could run so you don't want to push arbitrary dependencies on the host. But if you run something without network virtualization from the network's point of view, it's almost as if the service is running on the host. Just it cannot use raw sockets and so on if it's not but basically nothing a DNS server requires is blocked. So you could just have a dependency with Podman Compose to the name resolution helper and have it bind a DNS hashing forwarder or resolver to the loopback IP address of the host, and then it's always available. I think for IPv6 that still works, but FreeBSD 15 changed the default so that if you try to talk to the all zeros IP address, it's no longer treated as an alias for localhost.
Oh, really?
You can re-enable that
geez.
sysctl.
Okay.
It's still, because it's actually standardized for IPv6, but for IPv4, the argument is, yeah, but what if you have an accidentally uninitialized struct other? Yeah,
Oh boy.
sock other. That's a sysctl to turn it back, but yeah, this may actually cause problems for people who have relied on that behavior for ages, because now you can no longer not have a resolve conf in an IPv4 only jail and have it use the localhost because it won't. It's just the kernel behavior changed of what it means to have an all zeros destination IP address for your DNS requests.
Well, to not get too hung up on networking, and I'm ever expanding my aspirational goal here of automatic networking. Before the recording, you mentioned dbuild as a foundation for all this. Can you pick up where you left off there?
Sure.
And is that camel case
when I
correctly?
started Daemonless, to give it a little bit of history, I started with a Python script to build things in Woodpecker. If you're not familiar with what Woodpecker is basically a CI/CD system to build containers, to build various things. I then rediscovered it's called VM Actions. VM Actions is a repo on GitHub that lets you build FreeBSD and NetBSD and others within GitHub Actions. So basically, I think Haslam is using it as well to build Silva. But what I'm doing now is dbuild is essentially a script to help me to build and maintain and test the various containers. So it's an entire build and test suite. So dbuild lets you initialize like a directory and you give it some characteristics of what you want to build. So if I want to, let's take ffmpeg for example. I would say dbuild init -- FreeBSD port multimedia ffmpeg, and it would go to the port and grab the metadata out of that and attempt to write a container for it. However, with that said, a lot of the stuff and Daemonless is not coming from ports; it's coming from upstream. So there's various aspects of that. So on the CI/CD front, though, dbuild has something called SIT. It is container integrated testing, and SIT tests 4 different things of a container. So it tests shell access. It'll then test port. So assuming you have a service, it'll just say, hey, is this TCP port up? It'll test the health of a port. So so let's say you want to see if port 80 is actually serving traffic and we can actually get data back from it. And then lastly, screenshot testing. So we're using Chrome, headless Chrome, and GitHub Actions to run and take a screenshot of a container running and comparing it to a known good screenshot. And assuming all those pass, we push upstream to Docker Hub and to GitHub. So we have, I think pretty good testing. We're especially with the screenshot testing, we're proving that hey, that the container is actually looking like what we want.
Cool. Anshanae has his hand up. What you got?
Right. So what I didn't get is when you talked about image, are you using image on FreeBSD, or is it the OCI image of image that's Linux running on FreeBSD? I got confused on that.
It's 100% FreeBSD compiled. So what I did was I looked at the Linux their Docker files, and I replicated them to FreeBSD, and because there's a couple weird nuances here, but one, FreeBSD's Python is quite old, so we had to do some unique things, but everything's FreeBSD native to answer your question.
Okay.
And we did port over Jellyfin FFmpeg specifically for image, because image there's some filters that Jellyfin FFmpeg uses on videos that don't work in the FFmpeg and ports. So we're actually using the Jellyfin FFmpeg and image. So
you're using the Jellyfin FFmpeg in image. Okay, that does make sense. So okay, let me think. And you have your kind of custom compose YAML, if I got that correctly, or is it like an exact replica of
the compose YAML? That's standard Docker Podman compose, but yeah, we do have custom bits in there, right? So
okay,
we do have an Daemonless block where we call out things like an icon, a category, a description, like fresh ports URL, things like that. Just you give it metadata, and we're not using all the metadata today, but I'm collecting it now because I assume my end goal here is to have something like Haslam's team be able to one click install it. So I'm trying to capture all this metadata, thinking about other places that this would be used in while we're building this stuff. It's not all required today, but it's I'm collecting it in the compose.
So where is the okay, let me go back again. So since you're building image server on FreeBSD, using FreeBSD, it means that your from is FreeBSD, like you do from, okay, good.
And so FreeBSD publishes OCI images.
Yes, and you're using that.
We're building from that,
Okay. And you manually converted the image Docker container file that they have into a FreeBSD compatible one with our Python naming and our everything else.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's you can take, like, if you have an image over here on Linux, you can take your config and bring it to FreeBSD.
Yeah, of course. Yes, exactly. Yes. I have so many issues with this, by the way. But they are cultural, not technical, right? Because my point of view is the whole idea of Docker file, or in this case, people are calling it a container file, is an absolute monstrosity that shouldn't have been created in the first place. Because the reason why it exists is because Linux people still don't know how to do proper package management. If they had a proper package manager, it wouldn't exist in the first place. But we have a proper package manager. So I've been fighting with myself for a whole year that we need a jail orchestration tool that doesn't use the OCI ecosystem at all. Well, maybe for administration, because the administration bits are amazingly well done. I actually envy that, but not the packaging part. That part is still, and it's very easy to use as a developer. Which, I mean, it really is. I talk with my developer friends, they love it. But it's a nightmare as an operator when you have to debug things. But on the other hand, because it's a standardized system, it makes me wonder if we can write a parser that can convert a container file into a FreeBSD meta package. You know, a package that doesn't actually have files, but rather it has dependencies and does things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so I just posted a link. I wrote a blog post the other day called "Why I Love FreeBSD Ports" and why we need native OCI on FreeBSD. So I think image is a great example of this. So image is 1,400 packages, and many of them are not in ports. I can't even imagine how you would put this in ports. It's so complicated.
Is it worse than GitLab?
Do what?
Isn't it roughly the same order of magnitude as GitLab, which is in ports?
GitLab?
I'm sorry.
Is it worse than GitLab, which is also massive?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with
just chiming in there. It is. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah, there might be a T-shirt there. Is it worse than GitLab? Is it worse?
I absolutely would buy that T-shirt.
Exactly. Chiming in, yes. Thank you. So these are the issues to address, and I'm glad you are putting on the asbestos underwear and taking them on, because the anatomy of a packaging nightmare. There you go. You took the words out of our mouths.
I mean, the thing is, they could have done so much more with so much less. I would say, like, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just a photo application. Like, how complicated could that be? Why do they need Postgres? You know, we put men on the moon with less than that. Like, come on, dudes.
Twice at this point.
Twice.
I'm going to
knocked on the door.
hours, but it's just horrible. I wouldn't run it with anything, but I can understand why people do. But, you know,
if you haven't used it, I recommend trying it. And I think like if you understand, hey, I can upload 20,000 photos, and it's going to find the face and group those
Of a
faces
dog.
together.
Of a dog.
It's a very complicated application.
Yeah.
Like
If somebody wants to make a side bet with me, I could do a same Svelte application in a week that does the exact same shit with less tools. Anybody, I'm open to the challenge.
Can we bet on
Because,
this?
one thing I'll
is-
give them
there
is that it's a very well-written Svelte application, because
Yeah.
there weren't many Svelte applications that was written in Svelte that is that big and that well written. But it's just that it has so many dependencies that it just kind of got out of hand.
Okay, so wait, let me go back to the question. Actually, to the point rather. So why you love ports, and I absolutely get the idea of the blog post there. But for example, if image itself is 1400 packages, and some of the packages do have dependencies which are packaged on FreeBSD, and some of them are not. What are you doing with the ones that are not? That was my question.
Yeah, okay. It really depends. So I have a really long answer for you here. So I'm going to start off with Linux pre-builds. I'm going to post a link in here. So the SWC, the Rust-based JavaScript compiler, doesn't.
My nightmare. Yes, go on.
So I'll tell you how I solved it in Daemonless. Since we're using GitHub Actions, GitHub Actions starts with a Linux container.
Yeah.
And then it turns up a FreeBSD VM, and then we build stuff in the FreeBSD VM.
Okay.
So what we do is SWC, it just compiles JavaScript and just gives us static JavaScript and HTML. We compile it in Linux and then copy it over to FreeBSD. The other bit, and I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Well, can you repeat your question? I lost my train of thought.
Okay, so there are some dependencies which are packaged, let's say FFmpeg, and some dependencies which are not. Some random ass JavaScript library that apparently does eval or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Yep. So it depends. So it greatly depends on the package. I try to follow what the upstream developers doing. If they're using pip, we'll use pip for like Python packages. If it's something, I don't know, like pnpm install or whatever, we'll basically follow whatever the developer is doing to compile it. And to be honest, I'm amazed at how many things just compile out of the box, because that used to not be the case. When I was a FreeBSD ports committer, like I remember we would patch freaking everything, and part of the reason is we still supported GCC 295, tell you, and CC 88 or 89 or whatever that was. We had to patch freaking everything. That's not the case anymore. Stuff just compiles. But with that said, like a lot of this stuff, I just can't imagine it living in ports. Maybe ports has evolved. I don't know, but where ports used to be, I just can't imagine image being ported. I can imagine a lot of the aspects of image being ported, but not like a meta port. And then so I want to jump back to one thing. One of the reasons I wanted Daemonless is I'm so bored to death of system administration. I love being able to pull in a container, and if it doesn't work, I'll just go to the old version. And with ports, it's hard to get different versions of a package. With OCI images, you can do that because everything's baked into the OCI image.
Yes.
Not to discredit like ports and packages. I think they're a great, wonderful system though.
Hazel, you have a question on topic there?
Yes, actually.
Please.
So Michael mentioned, right? All this PNPM stuff and things like that. Bless his heart for doing that, because I can see that he supports like 7 different versions of PNPM, which is, not a small feat. One question I had is, why don't we just build like the JavaScript or the web bundle outside of this whole mess that is of trying to manage different kind of PNPM versions or whatever it is, and then just package it in with the port? Would that make our lives easier? Because that is exactly what I'm doing with Self. I'll build the web stuff in Ubuntu, and then I publish it in my release, and then the port will just download it from there as source code, because it is source code just minified and you know with all those things just baked in, so that they don't have to worry about having the right npm version or node version or
So
things like
basically
that.
you have the node modules tarbolt somewhere, and all of the assets tarbolt somewhere, and the port system just downloads that.
Yeah.
That makes sense because that's how non quote unquote modern software used to be a decade plus ago. It's like, so
Because I actually objected to this in some regard, because it kind of feels like a black box, right? Like people don't know what they're getting into. But at the end of the day, it's all source code anyway. It's not like it's binaries being sent over the wire. It's
that's a
still
good
source
point.
code. So if it's unminified or minified, it really doesn't matter. So I'm not sure how to go about this. But if I were building something like Daemonless or anything like that, which depends on packaging, I
Mhm.
wouldn't try it, because Node, and I think Node is pretty not hostile towards FreeBSD, because they have been, pretty great to work with for the devs, I think. But the all these new tools like I think Lightning CSS, they don't support FreeBSD at all on ARM64, and the new Wheat or White, or whatever it is, White Plus, they don't support FreeBSD, and
Well,
Bun doesn't support FreeBSD.
so Bun is in progress. Lee Wen has done some good work, and the Bun community itself is also interested. I'm following the thread there.
Yeah.
The rule of thumb is if it's server-side software, Node.js as an example, they are thinking of supporting FreeBSD, or they already do. If it's front-end software, so those are the people who are typically not even running anything other than a Mac, they probably don't. They don't even run servers. They just deploy things on other people's cloud, like without SSH. So they don't care about FreeBSD. They don't even care about Linux, if you actually want to know the truth.
Mhm.
So that's typically the
Yeah,
rule
the,
of
the
thumb when it
beauty of this
comes.
is, as you mentioned, I think
Yeah,
earlier, it's much easier. I think Michael mentioned this. Everything just works because most of it is either Python or JavaScript.
yeah.
So yeah, and it's a boon and a curse in some regards. But yeah, and even server-side software, right? Like for example, SvelteKit, you can actually bundle even the server-side code into something that's really, really minified, where you can just run in Node index.js, and it'll just start on pretty much any Node version, which is kind of cool to see. I don't know if React
Mhm.
supports that though, but Svelte definitely does, and some other niche frameworks does. So yeah, it's fun. But I wouldn't have fun, trying to, because we tried this with Silv a lot, trying to build the source inside the, I think it's Fourier, but it wasn't fun. Like things would randomly break, and some dependencies like Lightning CSS, they are not fun to work with. So yeah, I think though once we get like a critical mass, which I think is what projects like Daemonless are aiming for, where you have enough of a user base where people kind of have to support the platform, otherwise they would lose users. Then they would care about everything that we're talking about. So yeah.
Other voices. Anthony, I know you're doing some work along these lines. Mark, you've got a vision for
Yes, yes,
this.
yes, yes, yes. I have more questions. Wait.
Oh, wait, okay, Ant-Man, what you got?
Um,
It's
so let me think. Okay. So I got the point where you're using GitHub Actions there. Are you too much married to GitHub Actions? Like, if because it's Microsoft, and one day they might
Yeah,
wake up.
yeah.
Well, they don't need to wake up. It's already at like lower than 90% uptime. That's very
Yeah.
Microsofty. So, yeah.
So I I did see that article the other day about it, 90% uptime. I was surprised at that because I feel like I'm building stuff all the freaking time.
Yeah.
I've there was one day since I think I started this project in October. There's been one day
Yeah.
that I wasn't able to build stuff. However, I started with Woodpecker, and I still do run Woodpecker in like at home locally.
Yeah.
So if something happened to GitHub, I would fall back on Woodpecker.
Nice.
There's other stuff like GitLab that might be supported. I haven't really dove into it. But I'm sure there's other solutions. But Woodpecker does work. And most of the images have a .woodpecker.yaml file. I stopped checking in woodpecker.yaml on a lot of stuff just because it's generic and nobody's using it except me. So yeah. So I probably that's the URL.
Cool.
That's okay. That's actually very interesting to know.
Woodpecker.
What was flexible? Okay.
It's a great little
And
tool. Woodpecker.
just the one thing to note is that you can use GitHub Actions kind of the syntax that they use over in I think Gitea as well as
Yes.
Foreo. Yeah. So what I do is I write this what is that thing called, the YAML files kind of compatible, and I just test it with their actions runner as well before I push it to GitHub. So if Microsoft decides to pull a Microsoft, I can just push it over to my own Git server. So that's nice to have.
Yeah.
One of the beauties of what you guys are building is actually the OCI registry itself. Because that's actually kind of standardized, and like if you have a customer that's on Azure or whatever, there's already services for hosting that. Meanwhile, if someone is trying to host ports, while it is easier, it might require more tribal knowledge on what's the better way of hosting ports, right? With like ABI compatibilities and minor version compatibilities, anything like that. Okay, I like that too.
As
Last
long as we
question
don't have
yes.
10 app stores in the process, like have
Yeah.
the 13th standard issue from the next case.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Anthony.
exactly.
Of course.
You're next.
Last question. So, which brings me back to my first question that I had. Since you've done a lot of work on these container files and other stuff, I keep going back to the idea of because you've done this work, you might know the answer better. Is it possible to parse a container file and generate a on-the-fly package for a container, right? It doesn't have to be a port, because you can have a port file with the make file and everything, or you can have just a package created directly on the fly with package create, which we demoed I think a couple of weeks ago. Was that on this call, Dexter, that we demoed that? I think so, right? Where we created a package on the fly with package create, and
Mm-hmm.
Not ringing a bell, but that wouldn't be the first time.
I'm pretty sure that me and Jan were doing it. Anyways,
Okay.
the reason why I'm
Maybe after I
asking,
left.
because like we talked about Microsoft pulling Microsoft on GitHub, the
Mm-hmm.
Linux community has that habit as well. One day it's ALSA, another day is Pulse Audio, and last day is, I think I saw something called Piperwire or something.
Pipewire.
Pipewire, sure. I have no idea what it is, but apparently in 5 years, a lot of things have changed. The reason why I'm asking is someday they might wake up and be like, well, we don't like the port file, container file, Docker file, whatever anymore. Here's a new thing, and Red Hat is behind it, and Kubernetes guys love it. And then suddenly a whole ecosystem needs to bootstrap from scratch. Meanwhile, we don't have enough manpower to keep up with them. It already took us a decade to get to here. That's the reason why I'm asking about the conversion between a Docker file to a Metaport, and Red Hat is behind it. Makes me nervous now.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't have an answer for you to convert a Docker file to a port per se, but I don't even know how to pronounce this tool, but this tool will let you download the tar files of an OCI image, and then you could technically convert that to a package.
Oh, nice.
So
Scopio.
I mean, I've never done it, but I mean, it's just a bunch. It's just the tar files of the image. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be possible.
Uh-huh.
And what was Michael Jan's tar tool that we were kind of excited about before he vanished into a large tech company?
OCI tar.
That, I think, was it. Yeah.
It's
Thank
part
you.
of XC.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, it's kind of overcome now because we have Builder imports.
Okay.
But one of the nice things it did on its own, which makes it useful to this day, but it has a small bug, is the ability to create a layer out of the difference between two ZFS snapshots. So you snapshot some data set, you modify it, and then you snapshot it again, and OCI tar can build an overlay out of just those modified files. And it's really fast because it uses ZFS diff to find the diffs. So if you have a large file system, it's not linear with the number of files in the file system. It's linear with the size of the diff.
That sounds very interesting. That I don't see a package for that. Is that in FreeBSD ports?
No, it's an experimental software which shortly before becoming useful to the general public died when the author was hired by a not so open source friendly company.
They're selectively open source.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, there's one little bug in OCI tar which is probably 3 lines to fix, but has not been fixed upstream because the upstream is dead, and that is that it invokes tar incorrectly. So for reasons, it recursively adds entries. So basically, you have a spec violating OCI image in certain cases where subtrees are included multiple times, because the way the diff works, it tells you the full list of files, not just the directories which are modified. And every time it finds a modified directory, it will recursively add the directory because that's what tar does by default. It's just one flag to tar to not make it do that, and then it works.
Interesting.
So it's just the
That sounds
command
like a really
line
cool tool.
builder.
It sounds like a really interesting tool.
Take a peek. Yeah, it's right there. There's a link. And it's come up a few times, but it's like when a developer somewhat gracefully exits, well, what do we do? I'm sure the license is quite friendly, but yeah, it's been a solid 3 years since then. Okay. Anyway, so there's a tip from the desk here. And Antronig, not to be confused with Anthony. Any other questions or ideas? And what would Jailer do? Boom, boom. Oh, we've got an issue. Thank you, Jan. You are a wealth of information.
This is the bug report I filed years ago.
Yes, thank you. You are awesome at that.
Hi Sam, with the package-based integration that you talked about, are you calling the pkg and all of the other commands manually, or are you doing BSD install jail?
Oh, I'm calling all of it manually.
Okay, got it. I'm a little bit worried about that in case like upstream changes the process of making a jail. So I made a patch, which I forgot to submit. I should send it to K Evans. That BSD install jail dash non-interactive, so it doesn't ask you questions.
No kidding.
Yeah. It took me a while because it's a shell script that passes it to Lua, and then Lua reads stuff.
I think I actually played with this way too much with shells. I pasted in the link to the code that actually works as a bootstrap. I ran so many tests on this.
Danke.
And what I've realized is that none of us are right. Everybody is wrong because there is no spec. There is no like official guides. It's insane how we've reached this far and not like, okay, Jan will send me very useful scripts, which I actually did base my implementation on, or somebody in Discord might give me something very useful, but I still feel icky because I have not seen any, anybody official saying like, okay, this is canon, this is the end, uh, but no, I'm just, quite literally just vibing at this point.
There is no package-based spectrum. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, anyways, it's gonna make me go crazy. Yeah.
But it
Did
is
you
really
did?
cool as a technology, though. Like,
Of course, of course.
now that I started using it, it is insanely good.
Yeah.
And it's so sad
Yeah.
that they built this awesome thing, but they don't want people to use it.
Some do,
Yeah.
some
Actually, can
don't.
I show you guys some demo of that? Like,
Sure. I'm going to
let me
stop the
just
share.
share my screen
Yeah.
here.
Are we becoming
Yeah.
Facebook? Are we moving too fast and breaking things?
Please, that's the whole tech bro meme.
Can you guys see my
Oh,
screen?
hold on, maybe I stop again. Yes, for some it's on a different tab for those new to Zoom hell.
Okay. So here we go to our create jail screen. This is a foreign server, so it might be a little slow. So we can usually what you would do is you would download a base and then it just appears here, right?
Yeah.
So now we have this little button here where they click on it and they get two options. Right now, I kind of leaned towards including only 15 base and 15 minimal. So they click on Bootstrap here and it does all the package-based stuff. And then it makes like a data set for those bootstraps.
Yep.
And then when you create a jail, you can just start using these bootstrap assets. So it wouldn't, download a base each time you want to create a jail.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And the only reason I did this, initially at least, was to not depend on the user downloading those bases themselves. But yeah, that's about it. This is the demo.
By the way, how is
And
your
the name
front
is
end to
here.
back end communication? Is it a REST API or are you
Yes,
like
it is all REST.
GraphQL?
And I have some server-side events which I really want to not overload the front end too much with polling.
Oh, you do
But
have SSE.
yeah, I do have SSE in some cases. For instance,
Okay.
let's say, if I start something over here.
Yeah, then the server
So,
would send an event back saying it's
yeah.
up or
So
yeah, that,
this
that
kind
makes
of thing
sense.
where it is really, what do you say, dynamic, I kind of
Yeah.
tend to use that.
So you don't
But yeah.
keep polling every second, yeah.
Jan has
Yes.
a question. How are you handling patch levels with those
So
packages?
somehow you alone is smarter than all of ESXi. Okay.
There is no guys. How do you handle patch releases? I don't. That is the thing. Once the jail is created from a bootstrap, it is up to the user to deal with it now. Because honestly speaking, I don't know how to deal with patch releases. Is it PKG update? Is it PKG upgrade? And that's it. And if
Yes.
that is it, then I think we can just make a small button here that says, okay, right click to update, or we
Right,
can just show
update
like
bingo.
a man standing here, with like a red icon or whatever it is. And we
You'd
can just
also
start.
you'd also want to think about like you just made a new data set and snapshotted it for
You took the words out of my mouth. Snapshot and
package
update
base, right?
packages. Yes.
So the one that you have right now is P5.
Mhm.
Let's say tomorrow we get
Mhm.
another vulnerability and P6 is out. You'd want to
Mhm.
update the snapshot of you'd want to update the base data set. That's the only thing that you should
Well,
think about handling as a vendor, right? The rest is indeed up to the user. You know what I
um,
mean?
what would be nice if you could just configure it to keep the base up to date with patches, so the repository. Uh, you probably want to do that in the background on a cron job or whatever. You have it as a background mechanism to make sure you have the base package repository mirrored up to date with the latest patches. And then you take the old ones, merge them, similar to what the update packages make target does in base. So that you only update the packages which changed. You can do that with a package R query. to only find the packages on the upstream side where the package version is greater. So you can do a package version command. I would have to write up a script to do that, but
Actually, that's a
definitely
good point.
doable with package.
Maybe in the default, because we have like a default package
So
conf, which ships very nice aliases like no auto, which prints all the packages that you requested. Maybe we should also add in there package, what do you call that? Check patch, which prints and tells you
yeah,
if there's a patch, and ship that to
would be
everyone. Yeah.
yeah, that would be a package version query you can do.
Yes. Yes.
And the kind of automation should do something like that for in the background periodically to keep the mirror up to date. It would be really
Yeah.
elegant to only fetch the packages which changed. It would reduce the load from the CDN.
Yep.
And you could also, because it's basically at that point an append-only kind of data structure, you could clone the existing old version and keep it around if you have it, because it could come in handy if you want to recreate a bug or something.
Yes.
And I've been badgering the release engineering team to please don't overwrite the repository, because Nick does the right thing and then Pudir breaks it again by just overwriting the package set so that you cannot easily get a patch level, which is not the latest from the official CDN.
Correct.
It's so annoying if you want to
That's
test that, oh, is this bug truly gone from user space?
yeah.
Oh, now I have to build from source to get the buggy version back to test with.
Yeah.
For regression
It's
testing.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah, or I want this bug does not apply to me. It's more important that all my jails in my mirror distributed service are perfectly in sync and that they run the latest version, because that errata is not relevant to me, right? I should be in control of that and not be nannied by the upstream.
Okay. Take care,
Anyway,
Antoine. Although
rant
in that
over.
one quick
Love you all.
thing,
Bye.
hold on before you go. In that
Before
list
I
of
go.
things, how do we get Collabora and Nextcloud in there for the click
That's an
install stuff?
amazing question.
Yeah, well, it's a hot topic, and it has been for like 2 years because I do not want to be staring at
Aze,
all of you with
is
Google
there a
Docs.
way to contact you outside of this? I'm sure
I
that
can
there was a
give
contact.
you
Yeah.
an email address right now. Here it
Sure.
comes.
You can
I'll
put my
beat
email
you
in there.
to it. Yes.
Or
Awesome.
we have a Discord as well.
Yep,
Oh,
he's been
nice. I'll
active. That's
join
where I
that too.
invited him and all.
Yes, there's a single package on that's a dependency of Collabora that has Linuxism that's bothering me. I just want to fix that to get Collabora up and running. That's it.
Yes, please.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. Okay, love you all. Bye bye.
Take care. Cheers.
What incoming?
Yeah, in theory, but it's been like years in the making. This came up. I don't know if it's helpful to all of you, but here is an article about Podman without System D. It's in the doc. And if there's one useful tip, and even to Michael, then it's all yours. Anthony, I thought you might have some thoughts on this because you've got visions for, I believe, jail integration in your new Magnum opus. Would you like to do some magnuming or opusing?
I do, but I fear that what I would talk about is completely different to what I've been hearing. So I'm not sure if there's an appetite for that. But in short, the advantage that I have is that I have ZFS on root on Linux. So I can actually build data sets. Or my plan was to basically build all of the data sets and containers using all of the Linux infrastructure. So like Kubernetes deploys and all of that stuff, but the actual containers end up on FreeBSD jail. So kind of the best of both worlds, but my approach is way different. Like because ZFS is native on Linux, I'm able to do stuff like, hey, I just want to build everything and then import it into FreeBSD. The other thing that I have that's different is the ability to actually create a Jails BSD auto booting appliance. So my thought was, well, hey, if I already have everything in Kubernetes or as Helm charts or whatever, I can simply build out the image and then do a clone of that a snapshot and clone and replicate. And literally now I have a complete, image that's ready to go that can be launched from KVM, for example, to run a FreeBSD VM that specifically accepts or is specifically crafted to run a jail that Kubernetes would manage.
Well, hopefully it's becoming clear that the goal here is to provide you the plumbing to let those 1,000 flowers bloom. And if you run into a blocker or an issue, such as G1 Linux isn't breaking Kubernetes that needs attention, we're all here to help. So yeah, don't stop, but do let us know what's in the way and holding you back.
Well, there's nothing in the way. I've already done it.
Fantastic.
But I don't know if it's the same use case, and I don't know if it's acceptable. Like, it's not really a hack. It's just using ZFS and all of those tools. But essentially what it does is it does give you the same effect of, hey, I'm managing Kubernetes with Linux and doing all of my configuration. And when I push it, it's just going to build an actual FreeBSD jail, which is why I was asking you about Occam, because I think I can get that into like sub 100 megabytes as a deployable golden image. And literally you could just snapshot replicate 1,000 of them and away you go, right?
Exactly. And that's also where, minimal package base, et cetera, is your friend. But again, there's not a super clear spec and agreement on what exactly that looks like and how to build even, the native packages. It's like a no flag, and it's hiding in my code there if you need it. But cool.
Is that like along the same path? Is that the use case that you're trying to solve? Or?
No, keep in mind, I'm working on purely the plumbing to address use cases. What you do with the plumbing is up to you. These tools are so ridiculously flexible that may 1,000 flowers bloom.
Because right now, I actually I'm very close to this. Like, give me another week and I'll have it running.
Cool. Keep it. Well, you know where to find us. And sweet. I hope that answers your question. And just very briefly, I'll throw out this, hey, Bastille webmin module. There's a name I hear every 5 or so years, and it hasn't gone away. And SourceForge, there's a name that I don't hope to hear. And Hazem, if you're still around, thank you for some of these examples of applications in jails. You're kind of scratching the surface here, whereas Michael's gone kind of wild, which is awesome. But that all said, what questions do we have for be it Michael J. or Hazem or everyone else with the tool? And Mark, you've been quiet. Do you have any ideas, questions, concerns, funny jokes?
Not at the moment. I got in here late, so
no worries. It's recorded from the start such that you can catch up. That's one thing I attempt to make easy. That would be 1818 X. Other ideas. Daniel, you with us?
Yes, I was walking through the city.
Oh, how is the city?
During the first stop of the call, but I just got home a little while ago.
Nice.
I've been enjoying everything though.
What use cases of yours could these various tools help address?
Well, I don't know, but I have I have my sort of ongoing fantasy about about application directory that could, summon gels and VMs at will. And I think OCI and other tools are getting pretty close to that. I don't know. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Ports obviously aren't the best way to do that because it doesn't provide a configured I mean, it usually doesn't provide a
minimally.
configured application.
Yep.
So I still do default to Docker a lot, especially during experimental periods, and then I'll switch to, building it myself for production deployment. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's all different puzzle pieces that can help out with all these things. So, whether it's the deployment angle or the OCI angle and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just wish I had a lot more time in the day to experiment with all this stuff.
Oh, yes. Don't get me started. Well, very cool. And Jan, the very moment I saw Daemonless, I saw the use of S6, and it sounds like you are pleased that they've introduced a more user-friendly front end, and it sounds like you've been packaging that up. Maybe I got that right. Maybe I didn't. What's your news?
So, as you may have heard, S6 has finally gotten a front end, but it's in early stages. So yes, there's a release. No, it's not well tested yet. I'm in the process of writing a port for it, or I have a port, but I don't know if it's ready to go and is feasible for anyone else to use right now. As part of that, I have ported the S6 networking and S6 DNS and so on as well, so that those are now available to build upon. Again, not yet committed, but it's coming. The other thing I'm messing around with is writing FreeBSD specific S6 related tools. So there is a separate Scaleware repository for Linux specific tools. There's no equivalent for FreeBSD yet. I'm writing it right now during the call.
Oh, awesome. Well, then we better keep the call going.
Yeah, and so I've written a few tools, like one to follow the S6 log output before the log file even exists, similar to what tail use uppercase F for follow does, but in a way that it always does not actively poll, and only the logging directory has to exist, not even the current log file. And you can already start the tail so that you have less synchronization
that's
issues.
a thing. That is fantastic.
And thank you for the write-up, Michael. Yeah.
I'm not an S6 expert. We're
Rest assured, there are only like 8 on the planet, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, like there's a
we're
fairly active
barely
IRC
using
channel.
anything in S6 for how many packages it has. We barely use anything in it. But like it for what we're using it for, it's really good. And as I learn more about S6, we'll probably implement more stuff.
You've come to the right place. So, do you know where to find
Yeah,
Jan?
I'm also
Yes, you do. It's on a Take care,
I'm
Hazen.
also
Great
writing
work.
startup
Doing
code so
awesome.
that it becomes easier to use S6 and S6RC as the init system for a FreeBSD system, so that you could replace rc.d scripts and the default init process completely. But that's optional. But I want to make it possible that you can boot with S6. I had this working like 3 years ago
Long
on a
ago, yes.
laptop. Gave a talk about it even before that, but I'm no longer daily driving S6RC on my FreeBSD systems as true init replacement. I know that it's possible, but you have to rewrite all the rc.d scripts or just wrap them and then you don't have any gains.
This is lovely. Michael, your docs are gorgeous. Well done. And, rationale, like, why did we do this? Why did we do this? I'm very pleased with your topics.
One question I have is, did you run into any trouble with the port? Is there anything that you need, maybe a different option, configure stuff or whatever?
And to be fair, I'm not an expert in S6, but like it's doing more than I could ask for.
Oh, interesting.
As I learn more, and I might be reaching out to you for other stuff. And if you have suggestions of things I should be doing with it, please let me know.
Awesome.
Document how you're using it, and then I can rip it apart.
He literally just shared that. So boom, there. That's a great start, and it's very approachable. Nicely done. Nicely done. Just in case, there it is in chat. There it is in document. Well, now, more than. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and you're all making great progress, and this is exactly what I've hoped to initiate over all these years. Sitting in the weeds kind of isolates one from both meadows and forests, but hey, this is a great moment to see all this happening. Okay. Anything else? Jan, I invite you to have the honors.
Like and subscribe, you crazy people still listening to us.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all. Have a good one.
You.